Armchair commanders, we call the shots. From our living room thrones where the action's hot. We're the generals of fiction, the masters of war. In silver screen battles with buttered popcorn. Armchair commanders, armchair commanders.
All right, and welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John.
I'm Jack.
And this week we are joined for our bonus reel episode where we are starting our episode by episode review of Band of Brothers. And we are joined by return guest and friend of the podcast, Blake. Blake, welcome. If you want to say hi and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Glad to be back, guys. Always a great time with y'all. Yeah, I'm a team member and parachutist with the WW2 Airborne Demonstration Team. I've been a team member since October of 2022 when I went through the jump school, and I've now got 15 jumps and well on my way to more. Just about 2 weeks out from going back out to the hangar to do some more jumping. And so hopefully we'll get into some good airborne training stuff here this episode and talk about some of the knees to the breeze fun.
Right. So you do 2 jump schools a year now, right?
That's right. July and October. And so the way it works is there's short course and there's long course. So like for me or anyone else who's civilian, no prior airborne experience, no prior military experience, you do the long course. So anybody can come jump, no matter who you are. You know, like me, I was a civilian beforehand, and so the long course is 10 days, and it's held twice a year. And the short course, if guys have been through airborne training, I think it's like 2 or 3 days, and you're jumping as much as you want to. It's basically just a refresher. So, but yeah, it's in July and October. And I went in the October, so I can't comment on the July class, but I hear July is a roaster. It is hot out in Oklahoma in July.
I can only imagine like July is just miserable like most places, but I've been to Oklahoma a few times. So they don't really have that much as far as humidity goes out there, right?
Not terribly much. I mean, it's a lot of open, dry space out there. And I was just thinking about like if those guys who trained in Camp Toccoa, man, that must have been miserable in the summertime. Middle of Georgia, middle of the pine trees, mosquitoes picking you up and carrying you off. But yeah, Oklahoma's pretty wide open. You know, it's not too humid.
I definitely, that was one of the first things I thought about when watching this episode. I was like, I haven't been to like the deep south, but like I've lived in areas where it's pretty humid, so I can feel that pain. And I was just like, I couldn't imagine like 1940s, like
Yeah,
summer Georgia in the summer and no AC and
yeah,
being in like a wooden building with like 200 dudes.
yeah. Forget the wooden building. I think the latrine would be strong enough to kill somebody. Like I just got done. Let's see, not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, I stayed on the USS Alabama for a living history weekend that we had, and I was old Marine Corps detachment, the Mardet section of the ship, and it's the original head, original berthing, the whole 9 yards. And man, after you got 60, 70 other dudes up in that latrine, you can smell it from anywhere. I can't even imagine what that was like in Toccoa, middle of the Georgia summer.
How about you, Jack? You ever been to the deep south?
Can't say that I have, no. Deep South.
Well, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, so that's about as deep south as you can get.
I've never
You can
been to Mobile.
you can
You don't
swim through the air in the middle of summer. Just reach your
Yeah.
arms out and swim.
Yeah, you don't have to imagine what those guys were doing. You live it.
Yeah, exactly. Working outside, it's a trial. It's a trial, that's for sure.
So I think a good place to start is, I think something we've been putting off for a super long time is this series. One, because we generally focus more on movies than TV shows. Uh, but, you know, Band of Brothers is very much like Saving Private Ryan, where it really sets it set the tone and really is the basis for a lot of modern media that we have concerning World War II,
Right.
which I think it's both like I think it's a fantastic series. I don't know of anybody who dislikes this series, but
No.
also it makes it one of those um kind of things where it's like what can you have to say about it, which is why I'm glad that you're here to talk about, actually, as somebody who jumps from C-47s. Like, I'm glad we can get that perspective, because like I've talked to a couple of different like Band of Brothers actors, and one that I talked to recently, I was like, hey, you want to come onto our show? We're doing a episode by episode thing. He's like, God, I'm so tired of talking about Band of Brothers. Can we do one of my other movies? I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Like, but it's definitely one of those, like, this is a talk to death kind of subject. So
That's
I
a
am I'm glad that we have you here to give us a different point of view.
definitely, man. And it's such an impactful series. If you think about it, it's really the first time anybody got to see any intimate details of what these men experienced, and so graphically displayed is on TV that way. And it's almost like the sacred text of kind of the airborne world, because it's everybody refers back to Band of Brothers, and it's like any
The
TV
holy
series.
VHS tape.
Yeah, exactly. The holy VHS tape. That's what it is. It when in doubt, go back to referring to Band of Brothers. So I love it, man. I love that series. Watched it 100 times over.
Jack, when was the first time you saw this series?
Gotta be back in the 2000s, way back in the day, because this series premiered like either 2 days before or after 9/11, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it was like the same week, basically.
And then I think I watched it fully in middle school, front to back. And I recently, before this, rewatched it. Cried like a bitch at the end, but that's another
Yeah, me too. You're not alone there, man. Can't have a dry eye at the end of it.
fuck.
Not
And
possible.
I rewatched the Pacific too. I didn't see that
Yep.
fully, but man, damn, I love that show too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the Pacific always strikes a chord with me, because Eugene Sledge and Sidney Phillips are from Mobile. Like, I can drive
Hmm.
5 minutes down the road and go see where they lived. So, but it's really interesting to see, from Band of Brothers to the Pacific to now Masters of the Air. The all the different, same format, but different. Different theaters of the war, different settings of the war. It's really neat. Band of Brothers was the start of that, though. That was the beginning.
It absolutely was, and it like I appreciated the fact that the series continued Saving Private Ryan's tradition of, like, as opposed to like we reviewed The Longest Day and A Bridge Too Far together, and those are
Right,
great films,
right,
but they're also very 1960s 1970s styles films, where it's like
right,
you where you hear a loud pa-ching, and then like a guy grasps his chest and is like,
right,
ugh!
right,
Versus, like, Band of Brothers started to follow the new model of, no, we're going to try and portray this as realistically as possible.
right. And for the most part, from what I can tell, I mean, it's as good of a depiction as anybody's going to see. So far, it's it's incredible. through and through, and the honor it gave to the veterans that deserve that recognition. Those names will be remembered, and guys are out there learning more and more names because of a TV series. That's the joy in it. That's the whole point, is to remember these guys.
I find it very interesting that like all of these guys, they went through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, kind of just, living their lives. And then when the book and the series came out, they, like these veterans, literally became celebrities. Like
Right.
you can go on eBay and type in any one of their names, and like you'll see the autographs for sale. There's an auction site that I go through for random things every now and again that I want. They have like a history section, so I got like Doolittle Raider signatures, and I got the Bombardier from the Enola Gaze signature.
Oh,
It's really
cool.
cool stuff. But I
Right.
remember they had a 50 caliber dummy round that was signed by Wild Bill Garnier,
Oh man,
and it's
good
it's
old
still,
gonorrhea.
yeah, the last time I checked, it's still there because it still hasn't hit. Like they've had the auction multiple times, but it hasn't met the reserve. And
Right.
the last time I checked it, it got up to like $1,000. And I'm like, come on, guys, I get it, something people really want, but like as much as I would want that, I don't know if
Right.
I could or would dump that kind of cash on that.
Right. 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 No doubt. It's a big chunk of change. Yeah, that's my thing with like a lot of these guys that buy. I've bought all original web gear because it's still functional and it's better than the reproduction stuff. And I want the gear that I represent to be as accurate as possible. So that I can constitute. It's affordable. You can still find all original when it comes to the equipment. But these guys that go out and buy the actual M42 jumpsuits, which is what they jumped into Normandy with, and a lot of them, nobody uses them, like wears them jumping or what have you. They're pieces of history. You wouldn't do that, but just for their own personal collection. And I mean, man, spending $2,000, $3,000 on a jacket, another 2 or 3 thousand on a set of trousers, it's pricey, very pricey.
What about you, Jack? How much have you spent for a jacket?
That is a good question.
That's how he
It's
got
not
his
really
weekend
something I
pass
break the
today.
bank on.
Are you still rocking that same jacket that you wore in college?
No, actually, I got a new one a couple years ago that's much nicer. It was a gift from my mom.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm going to have to break the news to my cat Boo. So me and Jack, we used to be roommates, and my cat had an absolute love affair with his jacket.
Yep.
I told you it's a pussy magnet.
There you go, man. You got certain jackets that'll do it for you.
Yeah, man.
My cat has adopted my wool blanket for the hanger, to sleep with, and it's hers. I have to go buy a new one. She won't give it back to me. So she has a love affair with my World War II wool rack blanket.
So could you kind of describe what, like, you mentioned that your jump school is, there's a short and a long version, but it's basically a week. Like
Yes,
what is it like when you are living there for that week and you're going through that experience? Because obviously you're jumping from the planes and you're wearing, World War II style gear. Like, are you also living like it's the 1940s?
absolutely. And so here's the whole thing: the short course, you can think of it as much more geared towards guys who are there to come parachute, or maybe even guys that are active duty and would like to come get that experience of jumping from a C-47. That happens a lot, to my knowledge. The long course, even guys that have prior airborne training, we had, I think, 3 guys in my class, including our class leader, who all were prior Fort Benning, airborne qualified guys in the military, who still wanted to do the 10-day long course just for the experience. It's like traveling back in time. So when you get to the hangar is it's an original World War II era hangar. It was the maintenance hangar, the main maintenance hangar for Frederick Army Airfield, and it now is the last standing hangar of, I think, about, I can't remember the exact number, but it's somewhere in the thousands of buildings that were on the airfield. It was a lot of buildings. It was a very large airfield. So this hangar, that there's a barrack space that looks all original World War II. You can actually go onto the team's Facebook page and see pictures of it. But exactly what you think of if you thought of a World War II era barracks, just rack after rack made up perfectly. So it's a full immersive experience, and the training you receive is much more representative of what they would have went through in World War II with a few added safety features. It's much more representative of that than it is modern airborne training if you went to Fort Benning. Like Fort Benning's is, I think 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. Ours is 10 days. And you have a day on either end of that. It's kind of indoctrination and, or in processing and out processing, so to speak. But when you get there, you get set up in the barracks, find a bunk, and introduce yourself to your classmates. You have a drill instructor. He's a 20-year Marine Corps veteran, and he's going to be the one who takes you around to your different classes, and you're in uniform. There is a uniform of the day and a uniform standard and a grooming standard, and you might as well be in World War II airborne training, because you and your class, you learn to fall into formation. You learn how to do basic drill items to move you around. You stretch together, you eat together, it's a mess hall, and same sort. You're actually eating off of World War II trays, same trays that they would have been fed off of in World War II, metal mess trays. So from start to finish, it's up to and including KP duties at the end of the day after you get done with your training. Somebody's got to go clean the mess hall. Somebody's got to go clean the latrine. First squad swaps out with second squad to go do the duties. Every other day. So it's as if you've traveled back in time. And the training, we can get into more specifics on the training if you want to, but basically there is a ground phase and a jump phase. And the ground phase is all the preparation. And again, I can go as in depth into this as you'd like for me to. But the ground phase is all the preparation to get you ready for the jump phase. You have a test at the end of ground phase, and it's not a gimme. It's, you got to work at it. You got to study. If you pass that test, you go into jump phase, and then it's boom, 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 as many jumps as you can get. The winds and weather can kick up at any time. So after you go into jump phase, it's a race to get those 5 so you can get your wings.
So when you watch this episode, how much does the training montage resonate with you?
Very much so, because the whole thing is it really kind of gets the pacing right, because it's showing them in jump phase at that point, and kind of the pacing of it where it feels very quick. And I like how they did that, because for me, for instance, the ground phase felt like it went on for eternity, and it was worthwhile. It was very worthwhile, because it gave us the confidence to be able to jump when that time comes. You're going out of the airplane for the first time by yourself. There's no tandem jumps and static line. You've been trained, you've been given the ground training. You're going out on your own, and so for us, when we got into jump phase, it felt like a lightning strike. We got into jump phase, and I remember we was on a Wednesday, so we arrived to the hangar on a Friday, trained Friday through Tuesday evening. Wednesday was our test day. We were going to end up jumping Wednesday afternoon, but the weather got us, and so we took Wednesday evening off. Did some KP duties, and everybody rested and prepared themselves mentally for the next day. And the next morning, we started at so our manifest call, where we all met up to to get issued our parachutes outside of the rigger shop was at 6 o'clock in the morning, and our first jump of the day I think was at 7:15, 7:30, something like that. And before 11 o'clock had rolled around, we had three jumps, and beyond that point, the winds were too high for us to continue. But we could have gotten, if the winds had held up, we could have gotten all five jumps in one day. We had three jumps done in between 7:15, 7:30, and 11 o'clock, and it was boom, boom, boom. It was everybody, every one of us after those three jumps were dead exhausted, just dead exhausted. So that's very, very accurate. Really resonated with me.
I've never gone parachuting myself. I don't think Jack has either.
Nope.
Um, I can say though that I feel like I can relate to the pain of uh, hitting the ground. I fell down my stairs this morning, so
Oh
that's about as
God!
close. That's about
Did
as
you keep,
close as I've ever.
did you keep your feet and knees together?
It was more of a slide, so there wasn't a whole lot of control going on.
Feet and knees together to prevent accidents. Come on now.
My wife, she like, because it was first thing when I got up in the morning and I went to go let the dogs out,
Hmm.
and when you fall down a flight of stairs, it makes a lot of racket.
Right.
And I just hear from the upstairs. She's like, "Are you okay, John?" And I was just like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Yep.
I
Been
I
there.
just sat there for a couple minutes. I'm like, should I call in sick today? Because we're not off to a strong start.
Yeah.
Um, but then later she tells me, she's like, "I'm so glad you're okay. There's no way I could call 911 and tell them that my husband fell down the stairs."
Right. I'm glad you're all right, man. That would not have been a fun hospital trip. How'd this happen? I fell down the stairs.
Totally was not my wife. Blink if you're okay.
Yep.
Um,
uh, yeah, man.
but I think we should probably get into a little bit of the story of this first episode. I think this does a great job. Like, I'm not a fan generally when movies or series will start at a certain point and then they backtrack,
Hmm.
because I just think the getting back to the original point, the transition isn't that well, but I think they do that remarkably well in this series
Right.
through the
I,
different stages of training where they get back to where our opening scene was.
Right.
I believe the film nerds call it in media res.
And what is can you elaborate on that for us, Jack?
When a work of art starts in the middle or at a later point, but then flashes back to the very beginning and you work your way to that point again.
Well, there
Like,
you go.
for
I learned.
instance, when it shows them in France and Nixon and Winters are bullshitting, and then it says 2 years earlier, and then we go back to Georgia,
Right.
and then we work to that point again.
Usually, I would totally agree that it kind of messes up the flow of a movie or TV series when that happens. But it was like it kind of built up the anticipation of Normandy, because if you have no idea what Normandy is and no idea what they were doing in the very beginning, then that's somebody who's just going to have to learn through observation. But for the most of us, the C-47s, the equipment, it's obvious they're getting ready to make that jump into Normandy. And to hear the no jump tonight and then it backtracked to their training, I think was a cool transition to get to come back to Toccoa and see the trials they went through, the way they had to fight before they even got to fight. That was neat. Wouldn't have worked anywhere else, but it worked there.
And then we're introduced to, if it isn't my favorite scene, it's my second favorite scene, which is the very first time we see Easy Company all together and they're standing in formation. And I don't know why, but Ross turned into a major dick because of the war, but
Yeah, I can't watch Friends anymore and look at Ross the same way. Ross has become Captain Sobel, and Captain Sobel has become Ross. The two
And
are
I'm just gonna say it. I'm not a huge David Schwimmer fan. There, I got it off my back. I hope you all can understand.
he was a dweeb in
But
Friends, and he's a
he was
douche.
weird in
Yeah,
Friends. He was kind of a creep, honestly. But
yeah,
in this
I,
in this show, you're supposed to hate him, right?
yeah,
yeah.
And to my
And that's kind of the lens the book takes too, which the family of Captain Sobel is actually publicly spoken about the fact that they are upset with both the book and the series for their portrayal of him, because apparently the way that they portrayed him, he actually attempted to commit suicide later in
yeah, I heard
life.
about that.
all I know is that men don't commit mutiny over nothing. You know, if
No,
the man
absolutely.
warranted a mutiny, then I think he's. I'm not going to say deserving of whatever outcome, but still, you know,
But
his
correct me if I'm wrong, but in the book, it was all unanimous that yeah, Sobel's a shithead,
right.
but he also was the only one to accurate and to prepare us for war. And if he wasn't as hard as he was, we wouldn't have been as prepared as we were,
I think
because
that
there are not very many weekend passes in actual war anyway.
right. Yeah, I think the common theme that I've heard is that he was necessary, a necessary evil and great for building Easy Company, but not the man to lead them into combat.
I think it
Right.
was
It's like there's people that make like great drill instructors, but you
Right,
don't necessarily want to bring your drill instructor with you to combat.
right, right.
you know
Jack, I got to know what you did to get your weekend pass revoked.
I don't want to talk about it. I like last weekend I was helping my brother and his girlfriend because my brother's girlfriend got a flat,
Mm,
and that just started a just a conga line of bullshit.
mm,
And I eventually got, well, yeah, we eventually got the tire off,
mm.
and I loaded it up in my car and drove it to Pier, and I was just sitting in the at the mechanic's place, and I get a text from John saying weekend pass revoked. I was like, oh shit. At first, I was like, oh shit, and then I'm like, wait a minute, why oh shit? He doesn't have any actual power over me. And then I forgot that was like a meme from Band of Brothers. I'm like, oh, Sobel, you piece of shit.
Love
It
it,
was
man.
perfect. It was perfect timing though, because I just sent him that as I was watching the episode. Because we'll text
Right.
each other when we watch our films,
And then
and
and then
I just happened to text him weekend pass revoked as he was wasting a Saturday.
Right.
but then when all the dust was settled and all was said and done, I basically immediately played episode 1. And I jokingly texted him back, your weekend pass has been revoked. And then he texted me back his favorite line. I don't remember what it was, but the second he texted me back, the characters were saying it on screen.
Yeah.
That was just excellent timing.
It is.
Serendipity.
It was the. Do you know what this is?
Oh
It's a
yeah.
can. It's a can of peaches. Wrong. Your
Oh,
weekend pass is revoked. This is United States Army property.
yep.
That is probably my favorite line out of this entire series. It's just, it's a can of peaches.
Mine is and forever will be the whole brass knuckles thing. Uh, he's going through all of his kit and, two cartons of smokes, canteen, so on and so forth. And he's like, his friend's like, you got your brass knuckles? And he's like, no, I could use some brass knuckles. Brass
I
knuckles are
liked
handy.
I liked the line that Garnier followed up with right after Toy made
Yeah,
that statement, because he just has a mess tin is full of ice cream,
right.
and somebody starts reading Eisenhower's letter, which is tonight is the night of nights.
Right.
And he's
Tonight.
like,
Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's why they gave us ice cream.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the meme you see, which is like if the mess hall starts serving steak and lobster, you know you're
Yep.
fucked.
Yep. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because so it's kind of the opposite way around at the hangar, where since the jumps are so early in the morning, which I don't think we ate anything special the night before our first jumps, but the morning of, it was like a light continental breakfast sort of a thing. But that night, after we got done jumping for the first day, boy, we got prime rib, mashed potatoes, big old cake for dessert, whole 9 yards. I mean, they made it a real big deal. And it was almost like, all right, you survived the first day. Let's feed you well before you go on to the second day. You got two or three more, depending on who you are to get. And yeah, it was a similar memory, but post fact, not pre.
The one like mess hall scene I can strongly relate to is the day where they're like, oh, there's rain forecasted for tomorrow, so
Right.
let's have spaghetti. And they're all just chowing down on the spaghetti in the middle of it. They're like, plans changed, we're going for a 6 mile run.
Right.
And I just felt that in my bones, because I used to be a firefighter, and so like I had a similar experience like in the fire academy, where like it was near the end of training, and like um we went out as a class to go have drinks, and we had too much, but we're like, oh, tomorrow's a half day, it'll be fine. And like we show up, and like all the instructors can see on our faces that like what had happened the night before, and they're like, all right, everybody pack up, we're going to go for a run. It's like, god damn it.
That sucks. Embrace the suck. That's the worst.
Welcome to the suck.
Yeah.
I will say though, I sent you a book a while ago that I read for one of my college courses. But like I think the thing that a lot of people, I don't know if it's just the way like the formatting of the media, but like when you read about what these guys do for training, you're like, oh, that sounds tough, but it doesn't really like hit you how tough it is.
Right.
And then there's like that next level of like you read, oh, they have to run 6 miles,
right,
like up and back, up a mountain and back. That sounds tough, but like you'd probably get used to it, right? Or then you watch like a documentary of like special forces training. You're like, oh, that really sucks, but you're on your couch eating fucking popcorn, and you're like,
right,
yeah, that looks like it sucks, but like it's probably fine. Like,
right.
but like it had been a minute since I had watched Band of Brothers. But this recent rewatching of it, I feel like I got a lot more perspective with it, because when I was in college and like through my first responder stuff, I was an avid runner, and I would run like a normal running day was like 5 miles for me, so a mile short of what they did, but I would do it on flat ground,
Right.
and like I'd do 5 miles in 40 minutes, which is an 8-minute mile, and that's it's a decent pace. And like I would do 5Ks, and I would run like half marathons and stuff like that, so I considered myself to be a good runner at that time. And when you see them like gasping for air as they're reaching the very top of Currahee, and they slap that monument, and Sobel yells out like, we are coming on 26 minutes. And I was like, 26 minutes? They're doing it like an 8-minute 15-second mile up the side of a goddamn mountain.
Right.
Like I could, even in my prime of running, I could not do that shit.
Right.
So like
right. It's a whole different.
Yeah, it's insane.
Whole different generation of men. I mean, those guys that survived the Depression, end up with a country at war. And I mean, the physique of those guys was totally different than today. A much shorter, much more compact frame, but just tough through and through, man. I mean, I can't speak to that kind of physical training. Yeah, I haven't, other than personal pursuits, I haven't been to anything that could replicate what they went through at Toccoa. But just experience of airborne training, there's so many components to it that people don't think about. And like the physical aspect of it, of how much it beats up your body, just the landings and the training and the different things that you do and the ways you roll when you're doing parachute landing falls and so on, and the usage of different muscles that wears on you. But the mental aspect of it is what wears on you the most. And for most of those guys, to my knowledge, they'd have gotten 5 jumps in a day, if not 2 days like we did. We got three jumps first day and 2 more jumps the second day. But like I remember, for instance, as far as the mental challenges of it, there's all the challenges that lead up to your first jump. But really and truly, the real challenge is the second day, or the next time you jump after you have to be done for the day. So we got 3 jumps our first day, and the mental challenge amongst the class, the night before our very first jump, everybody slept like a baby. So did I. Got those first 3 jumps, and none of us slept that night. None of us. Everybody was up and moving around and going outside and pacing around. And it was more like I know what we just went through and we got to do it again tomorrow kind of thing, like trying to accept that. So yeah, that sort of things, it's challenging. We you can overcome it, no doubt, but it is, like I said, I can't speak to the physical, but the mental, that's the challenge, working with your own mind.
Jack, what was your favorite part of the training montage?
Well, I think I'd have to say my favorite part was that time the music kicked in with "You're gonna do a lot of training, you gotta do it fast, you're gonna need a montage."
Montage.
Even
But
Rocky had a montage.
I don't think that was in this film.
You're right, it wasn't, but that just plays in my head every time I see a training montage, so I can't help it. I like that rapid fire, like training where they're pretending to jump out of a plane. You just broke both your legs. Do it again.
Yeah. Well, with us, it was airbag training for that. So for them, they did door exits and then immediately rolled into a PLF, which would be hard to do with a whole main on your back, because at that point the parachute's already, of course, deployed and out of your way. But boy, jumping out of that plane onto an airbag, it was one of those big stunt bags like they use for stunts in movies. And so a real nice big old airbag that was donated to the team and has the team's logo on it and everything. And so you get up inside the airplane, they'd push it up against the plane, and you'd carry a loose static line that wasn't attached to anything but the plane. So you'd walk down to the door, you'd hand off the static line, you turn into the door, and you'd get yourself out of the airplane just as you would if you were jumping, and land on that airbag. And I swear, I think more of the class, I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't get hurt at all. But I think more of the class got hurt on that airbag than they did jumping itself. The majority of them, twinged their neck the wrong way or fell off of it. Or
Better that than the real thing, I suppose.
Better that than the real thing. But it gave us a lot of confidence. But yeah, no broken ankles there, luckily.
I wonder what the injury rate was for like actual World War II paratroopers, because that's not something I've ever really thought about until just now. But it had to have been like through the roof.
Quite a bit. There was a pretty high injury rate. There's one of our team members. Him and I spoke about it one time. I couldn't tell you exactly the numbers of that sort of thing, but there was a lot of stuff that they didn't know then that we figured out since, especially like keeping your feet and knees together, and door exits, proper door exits. You see a lot of those guys when they exit out of that door and it just looks like a tumble. There's no proper exit to them. And, improper door exits can cause all kinds of malfunctions, get you tangled up in your suspension lines, end up with a horseshoe, which is where your leg is above your head up in your suspension lines. And especially with the landings, I'm not entirely sure if they were told to keep their feet and knees together, but if you look at some of the footage of it, they didn't. A lot of them didn't. And the way that kind of works, like you'll hear that a ton, keep your feet and knees together. But the way that works is like if you took a pencil, if you have one pencil, you can break it pretty easy. But if you have two pencils together, it's a lot harder to break. And so it's kind of the same deal in landing. But a lot of those guys got injured, a lot.
I can imagine. Shit.
Plus the chutes they were using, totally different deployment process, much harder of an opening shock. Couldn't steer them as well, or if at all. So I'm sure there's quite a few guys that hit the ground running with the wind.
At least like the US stuff was a bit better than other people because like I don't know if you've ever like looked at the German Fallschirmjägers.
Yeah.
They like admittedly it's really cool when you watch it, but you can go to YouTube and look up the Fallschirmjäger like training video from World War II. And they're literally like they are hurling themselves out of the airplane like Superman style, like hands out in front of them. But then like their parachutes, it's one single attach point to like the in between their shoulder blades, so they're just like ragdolling their way down to earth.
Right. Yeah, I mean that I watched that for the first time and was like, Christ, that would suck to be under that kind of canopy. Because even ours in World War II, all the way up to ours today, you have risers, and it's imagine a canvas or nylon equivalent webbing that comes up from your right shoulder in a V out to suspension lines and your left shoulder in a V up to suspension lines. You basically have 4 of these that go up, connecting down to just 2 points on your shoulders. But yeah, with the Germans, it was behind their head and one single point. So they were just spinning in a circle underneath that canopy. And plus their landings, they were taught if they landed forward to do almost like I don't know what to call it, a roll, a somersault forward sort of a thing.
Combat roll.
Yeah, basically a combat roll forward. And so many of those guys, like someone was telling me the rates of it, but so many of those guys broke like chest and collarbone, especially collarbones, a lot of that sort of thing getting broken from these guys trying to do that roll and just like cramming their neck into the dirt. So they had it a lot rougher. I'll give them that.
I appreciate that this episode is not just like it's not like the first couple of weeks, and it's not just the standard like boot camp episode where it's like, oh, we're going to make you run and we're going to yell at you, but like we also get to see them as they go to England and do like their more like advanced training. Which like this episode is just honestly chock full of gems when it comes to like one-liners.
Right.
But like one of my favorite parts from this, like this, if we were to divide this episode in half, which is, Georgia and England, I love when they're out doing the land nav exercise and Sobel cuts the barbed wire fence.
Yep.
There's not supposed to be cows here.
Captain Sobel.
Who said that?
The fact that actually worked.
Who is the idiot that cut that? Who is the idiot who cut that man's fence?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the series too. Definitely.
That old British man on a bicycle that was a good sport about being taken prisoner.
You
caught me. I think that's interesting. And granted, they got the point across, but like there's examples of US troops doing like live fire building clearing drills in like demolished sections of London.
Right.
because a lot of the buildings were destroyed because of the Blitz. So they're just like, well, this is what's going to look like over there. So,
Right.
but we don't see that in this series. But I appreciate that. Like, we still get the very like 1940s like combat training. Like the one of the things that really stuck out to me is when you see them doing the bayonet drill, and it literally looked like, when they filmed that scene in this episode, it literally looks like a training film from World War II, where it's like this super slow, like over exaggerated, like parry of a rifle.
Right. Heavy left, heavy right. Yeah, most definitely. They got the angling and the cadence of all those scenes of the training so right. I think that's one of the biggest things about Band of Brothers is it knows when to speed up the pace and when to slow it down to keep you engaged. And that's one of those scenes where it just gets you so engaged for what's coming next. So it's one of my favorite parts too.
Jack, what's your favorite part of the England phase?
Oh shit.
Jack?
Sobel proving that he's not as good of a tactician as he thinks he is.
Right.
And like I said, the old British man that was a good sport about being taken prisoner.
Also, poor muzzle discipline from Sobel during that. Remember when they're like, you just lost 90% of your company, leave 3 men as casualties, and he just, like, he points his 45 at 3 different dudes. He's like, you. And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah,
Bang!
A finger.
I know the 40s are different, but that still can't be okay, even by that standard, right?
No.
Right.
No.
Without a doubt, no.
They were expendable. Who cares? I will say, like, on the doing a rewatch on this with as much time that's elapsed, a scene that I never really connected with until this most recent watch through was the scene where Sobel is sitting down with Sink, and like they're in these like, it feels super stiff because they're like in these leather chairs and like a lounge kind of deal, and there's a fire in the background, and they have their glass of whiskey, and you feel like it's supposed to, you can see for Sobel, you'd be like, ooh, I'm in the big boys club, and then like he gets all of his power stripped from him.
Right.
And like, I don't know, in previous watchings, I've never related to that because it's always been like, oh yeah, he's a dick, cool, he's out of here. You take the position of the other guys of easy, but this is the first time where it's like, even though you recognize him as not the right choice for combat, and like he wouldn't have been a good leader in that respect, you still like, this time it actually hit me because I was like, at the beginning of the episode, Winters and Nixon are talking like, they say 672 days of that asshole. On the flip side, for Sobel, that's 672 days of his life where he devoted to like producing the single best company in the regiment.
Right.
And like to have that stripped away from you, like that had to have been just like soul crushing.
Right. A man losing something that he devoted so much time and effort into. Yeah, and I mean there's definitely that perspective. I've looked at it that way too, where it's like, damn, imagine how he felt to get up to right before the day. And not only that, but to know that there was a mutiny, and to know that that's how your men thought of you, that you had put in that much effort, and that they had that kind of regard for you, that they would be willing to possibly get themselves executed just so they don't have to follow you into combat. That's soul crushing.
Yeah. Oof. But correct me if I'm wrong, Sobel did in fact get to land on Normandy for the invasion.
That I actually don't know.
I think he did. I looked it up. Sobel
thought he went to what was the name of the school?
Wait.
It's
Yeah, Roberts. No, that's not it.
He did.
Yeah, Captain Herbert
He
Stoll.
Sobel did jump into Normandy, not with Easy Company. He earned the Combat Infantry Badge as a part of the Regimental Company headquarters.
interesting.
So he would have been jumping in like the same group of planes as like Sink and those guys.
Right.
That's really interesting because I don't remember. Obviously, it's not shown in the series, but that's also I don't remember it in the book. Granted, it's been a solid minute since I read the book, but
Right.
Huh. Can we get a Captain Sobel biography? Is that a thing?
Yeah. It'd be a really depressing read, considering, the suicide attempt that left him blind and he spent the rest of his life in an assisted living facility.
Jeez.
And apparently, another thing his family was pissed about is the books and the shows don't really mention it, but his men were often very anti-Semitic towards him because he himself was Jewish.
I'd be curious to hear if there were other witnesses that shared that sentiment, or if that was from his words only sort of a thing. I would be curious. I mean, I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying if that came from him alone.
And
Well,
I'm sure there's a lot of he said,
Yeah.
she said on this 80-year-old story.
Right, no doubt. But
also, anti-Semitism definitely tracks for the 1940s.
Oh, absolutely. Before, yeah. Yeah, and who was the translator who was Jewish in the regiment? What was his name?
Liebgott.
That's it.
Yeah, Liebgott.
If I remember correctly. Oh, Liebgott. That's the funny thing. Liebgott actually wasn't Jewish.
Huh.
He wasn't?
No, he was a Roman Catholic, but everybody in the company just assumed he was Jewish because of his name, and he just rolled with it.
Okay, then.
Just never bothered to correct anybody. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like, so I have a barber I go to, and for the longest time, very surface level conversations because it's just my barber. But he, for some reason, he thought my name was Jason and not Jonathan.
There's Billy.
And I never bothered to correct him. I'm like, it's not important. So just every time, hey Jason, how's it going? Oh, great, Phil. And then maybe like a year and a half of seeing him, my wife was like, hey, can you schedule me an appointment? I'm like, yeah, sure. You want me to just get you in with my guy? And she's like, sure. And so we both had haircuts scheduled, and we show up, and like right before we walk in the door, I look at her, I'm like, hey, just so you know, my name's Jason here. Just roll with it. And she's just flabbergasted, like, what? That illusion ended maybe like 6 months after that, because he finally like looked at my debit card one day and he's like, your name's John? I was like, yeah. He's like, why did you tell me? I'm like, it didn't seem important.
Should have just gone down to the courthouse and legally changed your name.
Yeah, he's Jason now to me.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's Jason Bourne.
I was just about to say.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Change your name to Jason Bourne.
So, Blake, what was your least favorite part of this episode?
Oh, let's think about that. Man, that's a tough but very good question. Least favorite part. I honestly would have to say when the episode ended and the credits rolled, man, I don't think there's a single part of it that I don't like. Let me circle back to you on that one in a couple minutes if I can think of something, because I really can't think of anything. That's how much I like it. How about
Works
you
for me.
guys?
Jack, what's your least favorite?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, honestly. Yeah, I need to think about this as well.
I know it's a good series, but come on, guys, it's not like perfect.
I'm trying.
Yeah, don't pressure us.
We don't function well under pressure.
I
Man,
think.
I can't think of anything.
Damn it! Now I'm drawing a blank. This is your guys' fault.
Genuinely, man, I think the credits rolling at the end of it is my least favorite part because it's
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else.
I think the only thing that, damn it, I lost it. I think the only thing I disliked was the introduction of Compton, because when we first see Compton, we see Winters chewing him out for gambling with the guys, which, if you're not paying close attention, you make it seem the way, like, because he's going in depth describing the men to Compton. So you're like, oh, he's brand new. He just got here, even though this is a reprimand for hanging out with his troops. So we don't actually have an idea of how long he's been with them at this point. But just the way that one scene is set, like, if you're not paying attention closely, you could be like, are they really putting a guy in charge of a platoon like the day before an invasion? Like,
Right.
but even that's just kind of a silly pedantic thing.
Right. Oh, we know how I love my pedantics from time to time.
Yep.
That sounded painful.
It felt good. Nice big stretch.
So I know with this year particularly, you guys at the team are planning on doing jumps over in Normandy.
We are.
Is kind of the build up and the lead up. Are you feeling like, I know you do this because you like the closest and the connection to history doing what you do. Is doing a jump school and then actually doing a jump over in Normandy all like in the same year, do you feel like that's bringing you even closer to this subject matter?
It is. And man, let me tell you, every day that grows closer, like airline ticket bought, everything's arranged. It's within 8 weeks, I believe, of leaving for it, and it's surreal to think about the places that I'm going to get to go visit and witness firsthand, and then jump into. You know, there's still a bit up in the air when it comes to that. We're waiting to hear some kind of finalized details on that, but going, jumping, and everything encompassing it's going to be a pilgrimage, really and truly, just a trip to a point in time in history which I've studied and revered so much, and to go there and witness it firsthand, especially for me to get to go to the Normandy American Cemetery, to get to see the various graves that are there, and just the scope of the sacrifice that happened there, and all the different towns, Saint Mary Glise, Carentan, Saint Marie Dumont. That's the one that's interesting for me, and I believe one of our drop zones will be in Saint Marie Dumont. I, again, not entirely sure where that's heading to, but that's where Easy Company would have been one of their drop zones. So it's going to be very, very close to home, with what I've appreciated all this time, if we were to get that. There's so much going on and so much back and forth right now with an operation that's this big, this massive, with so many different components to it. It's a standby to standby, and we'll figure out what we're doing soon enough. But it's going to be incredible through and through.
Is there any particular battle site you're planning on making a point of going to, or like, are you going to hit up like Brecourt Manor or anything like that?
Yep, I believe we have a special arrangement set up to actually get to go onto the property at Brecourt Manor, and I believe they're doing some kind of excavation there of some of the artifacts that were underneath the soil, and we're going to get to go see that. We're going to do a ceremony at where Lieutenant Meehan's stick went down. Um, we're gonna hit some of the real high points, but Breakcore Manor is one of the big ones. That's going to be a whole event with one of our colleague organizations overseas that has arranged this for us, and it's going to be a real incredible thing to get to go step foot on, see the exact place this happened, and never again will I be able to watch Band of Brothers and see it the same way of not knowing what it's like, to step foot in those places, to have that perspective of, I may not ever know what it was like on the day, but I know what it's like to stand in that very spot, what the trees look like, what the ground look like. It's a perspective that I never thought would have happened in my lifetime.
That I'm very jealous of you. There's a lot of things that you're going to see that I wish I could.
I
I
appreciate
I,
that, brother.
I think like on the top of my list of places that I would like, my own personal top place to visit would be Pegasus Bridge,
Yeah, absolutely.
which it's a shame they haven't done a movie about Pegasus Bridge yet.
They really need to. I know we were talking about that last time. Now, to my knowledge, of course, there's the location of Pegasus Bridge, but they've made a museum for Pegasus Bridge because, and again, I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that the bridge from World War II has been removed and placed at that museum because they replaced it with a more modern bridge. So the actual bridge itself, the structure of it, has been moved to the Pegasus Bridge Museum. Uh,
That sounds like quite the project.
yeah, I know. I think it was. And again, I may be wrong, but I think that's what I heard or read somewhere or watched video about or something like that. But
I know they have like a full size like Horsa glider replica by the bridge.
right, right, right. I
Um,
wonder if I need to look that up. I wonder if that's right or not. But just a side note, maybe I'm totally wrong and I'm thinking about another bridge.
what about you, Jack? Is there what would your top place be to visit in Normandy?
You mean other than the beach itself? Omaha Beach?
Omaha.
Yeah.
So I found it here. The original Pegasus Bridge uh, that was there during the war has been moved to the nearby Pegasus Bridge Museum, and it was replaced with a more modern structure. But the original bridge is still intact and has been moved to the museum that's nearby in Normandy.
Okay.
I'm wondering how they moved a bridge.
Very
It
carefully.
seems like it would be a bridge too far.
Ah.
Ha 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 ha.
I don't
So what are
get it.
you drinking? What are you drinking tonight, Blake?
Oh,
To come up with a gem of a joke like that.
it is all virgin. It's just a lemonade, a Publix brand lemonade. I yeah,
Oh
I'm
man.
looking wantingly at my alcohol shelf right now.
Wantingly.
Yep. Yep. What about you guys?
That's
What are you drinking?
that's what you get for catching the plague.
That's
You're
exactly
right.
right. That's exactly right. I I I'm ready for a little nip of something over there, especially that bottle of Blanton's that's looking at me. It's looking back at me right now.
Okay, so quick side tangent. How easy is it for you to find Blanton's?
Relatively easy down here. Is it
It
difficult where
is.
you're at?
Oh my god, it is goddamn impossible to find it up here.
Really?
No, like, so that my local liquor store is this big, massive place. I mean, like, the liquor store I go to, it's like the size of a Target.
Mm.
It just huge. They don't even have it. They have a bottle, and it's literally, hey, spend this many dollars this month, and we'll put your name in for a raffle for the chance to buy our one bottle of Blanton's. And I'm like, God, I just want to try. I haven't had it. I want to try it. I've heard good things.
It's wonderful.
I can't justify the cost of getting a bottle to me here. Because if you go on the internet, it's like, oh, $200 to have it shipped to you. I'm like, this is bullshit.
I'm gonna have to go hunting for you one. I'll be on the lookout. We'll see what we can do. Well, now, what I will tell you, the thing I'm most looking, or well, not most looking forward to. There are much bigger things that I'm looking forward to in Normandy, but one of the food slash liquor experiences I'm wanting to have is Calvados. Have you guys ever heard of Calvados?
No.
So it's like apparently apples and pears in Normandy are a real common thing. You know, the soil in the terrain allows for just a ton of them. So it's like an apple brandy or like a pear sort of brandy. Anyway, I've had it once before at the hangar in Oklahoma. Of course, not during parachute operations, just to make that clear. But and it was delicious. And so the history behind it is this Calvados that they make. You know, this French, Normand brandy, basically. when when the Allied invasion forces made it to Normandy, whether it be airborne or ground invasion forces, once some of the fighting lulled, the French were just giving everybody they could glasses and bottles of this Calvados. As their liberators had arrived, it was a celebration wherever a celebration could be had, if even for an instant. And the cool part about it, about the airborne history behind it, is if you notice on paratroopers uniforms in training, the M42 uniforms are relatively crisp and a light color. And then when they go to jump into Normandy, they're this dark, dingy sort of color. Well, they were doused in this chemical called CC2, and it stands for something. It's like compound chlorate.
Cancer causing two.
Exactly. It was just a pungent, petroleum smelling, just coating. And it was essentially an anti chemical weapon. It was supposed to be a sealant to try to keep mustard gas from getting onto your skin in case the Germans used chemical warfare on us. Anyway, it was pungent. It made their uniforms pretty much waterproof. So you can imagine the misery of sweating inside something like that. These guys get to Normandy, and post the really heavy fighting, things are starting to calm a bit. There are pictures of these airborne guys borrowing these Calvados vats, these big, almost like cast iron or steel pots, these massive pots from the French locals. And they put water in these Calvados vats and boiled their uniforms in those boiling Calvados vats to try to get the CC2 compound off their uniforms. And that's why if you look at some of the pictures beyond that, their uniforms almost look bleach white at some point. They're the real bleach bright color. And that's from dipping those uniforms in those Calvados vats and boiling them to get that CC2 out. But neat little history behind the Calvados. And I am looking forward to not only getting to drink some, but getting to bring some back to share.
Dang.
Well, while you're over there, if you're a brandy fan, look out for a brand called Osbach. It's a German brandy.
Osbach.
I remember
Osbach.
when my dad was in the military, he would always bring bottles of that back, but he would also bring, they have these things called Osbach candies, which is literally just little chocolates filled with the brandy.
Brandy candies.
Yeah, so
Oh
he
yeah.
would he would let me have like one of those at Christmas.
Right. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I need to try that. I'm really looking forward to, just every experience I can get over there. Gonna absolutely pack it in. But the big thing is just the reverence of the trip, man. It's great to get to go and experience it the way we're going to, but I'm gonna try to really be present and envision just the history that happened there, and try to put my mind into that. Do I realize where I'm standing sort of mindset, because it is ground packed with history.
Jack, what beverage do you have this evening?
Boda Mini, a mini box of wine.
Boxed
Box
wine.
wine?
Boxed wine. And I will fight, kill, and die on this hill. Not necessarily in that order, but I say no one on this planet is too good for boxed wine.
Hey,
I'm not too good for it. I just haven't found a box wine that I enjoy yet.
yeah. If you enjoy it, then drink it.
You're not
Like,
highfalutin enough, Johnny.
like
I
I'm,
know
I'm,
you.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Granted, I've given you a lot of shit for like when you brought like Bush and shit on this show.
Oh,
Because
it's funny you mentioned that because I have a 5 of a 6 pack of Keystone right next to me as well.
When they were singing "I Got Friends in Low Places," they were talking
They're
about
talking
Jack.
about me.
They were talking
And
about Jack.
yep,
His
definitely.
boxed
And
wine and his Bush.
yep.
well, at least he
And
didn't steal his fruity little drink from the gas station this time.
Yes, four loco, four loco look like whatever it was,
it
fruit punch
was
something.
it was some knockoff.
Beatbox.
But where was I going with this? Oh yeah. I describe myself as the uncle friend. Single, no kids, absolutely the worst taste in alcohol you've ever seen. But tons of fun. At least he thinks he is.
There you go, man. That's the best
I
combination.
I enjoy you sometimes.
On occasion.
Ass.
On occasion, in moderation. No, just messing with you.
So I'm drinking a traditional World War II paratrooper beverage here, which is
Bush.
no, it's Baja Blast Hard. Thank you.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Final
Yeah.
spread.
you want
That-
to know what Lieutenant what was it, Welch?
Welch, yeah. Harry Welch.
Yeah, you want to know what he was drinking out of a flask? It was
Yeah, it was
Blast
Baja
Hard.
Blast Hard, of course.
Yeah,
It's the
there you
oldest
go.
Mountain Dew product, predating even Mountain Dew itself, which is odd, but man,
That's right.
yeah.
Which
In the next episode, there's a really famous line, and it's said by Winters. He's like, "We're not lost. We're on Normandy, and we have our canteens full of Baja Blast Hard." And he
Yeah.
shows the label to the camera, so you know.
that's some weird ad placement for the episode, but you know what?
It's
Yeah.
like that Cerveza Cristal meme for Star Wars.
The scene towards the very end of Band of Brothers, where they're driving down the Autobahn, and Webster's yelling off the back of one of the deuce and a halves, say hello to Ford and Chevy. Should have just cut to a commercial immediately and been like, brought to you by Ford.
General fucking Motors.
Yeah.
It's a common misconception that
Brought to you by the new 2020 Hummer.
I was gonna say it's a common misconception that Nixon went on his crime spree in the second to last episode to find VAT 69. No, he was trying to find more storage of Baja Blast Hard.
Yeah.
Which is a very reasonable reaction to running out is committing grand larceny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grand Theft Hamburg.
Some random German town.
It's just becomes a fucking menace to society because he can't find his Baja Blast Hard.
So if somebody commits a burglary in the city of Hamburg, does that make them a hamburger?
No, let's not go there. God damn it, I knew you were gonna.
My hamburgers!
My hamburgers! Fuck.
So I think it's about time we rate this thing, and I know it's a little odd rating a single episode out of a series, but
I don't know if I can do it, man.
Can't really break from tradition, because I mean, if we were just to do the series as a whole, like I know what our answers are going to be. But I think I'm going to be selfish on this one. I'm going to go with my own personal rating of 1 to 5 cans of U.S. Army property, not peaches. And I would give this episode 4 full cans of U.S. Army property, and the 5th can is empty. Like, it's already been eaten out of, but the can's still there. And I'm only doing that just because there's so much. My only downside to this episode, I think, really, is how much they pack into it. Like, it's great at telling its story, but it is a lot of information to absorb versus like when we get into the later episodes, we focus more in on like individual people each episode. So it's easier to follow those stories versus we jump around a lot in this as far as point of view goes. That's why I'm digging it.
Right.
Jack?
Huh? Well, sorry, I kind of phased out there for a second. I was looking.
Appreciate you.
I never listen to a single word you say. You should know this. But it doesn't have an individual rating for this episode.
Oh, that's lame.
But it has, as is to be expected, a shitload of reviews for the main series as a whole. So this is going to get tricky.
We can just go by our own reviews.
Yeah, I trust our own unbiased reviews. Just kidding. I don't even trust myself to rate anything.
Hey, we are 1 year away from being eligible to be Rotten Tomatoes official critics. So,
oh yeah, we have been doing this for a year now, haven't we?
Yeah, we're a couple of weeks out from the year mark.
That's
Happy
cool.
birthday to y'all.
Thanks. In about 20 more years, we can legally drink, or this show can legally drink.
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe by then we'll actually have a sponsor. But
the computer just walks into a bar and orders a Four Loko lookalike drink for Jack.
Jack, 1 to 5 cans of Army property.
Fuck. 1 to 5 cans, you say? 5 cans.
See, I knew
Fair.
I liked you, Jack.
That makes one of us.
Your weekend pass is revoked.
I'm so depressed.
Oh, damn it.
Blake, 1 to 5 cans of Army property.
Yeah, this should come as no surprise, but I would say 5. I just, man, the all of it packed in together, the Camp Toccoa training, the airborne training following that, the advanced training when they get to England, just all the build up into episode 2, which would be the actual jump into Normandy. It built it up and hooked you really well, is what I feel like. And every other series that I've watched, even though those series are great, like the Pacific and Masters of the Air, there's not as much of a hook. It's formatted differently, and that's the one thing I love about Band of Brothers is the it reels you in with everything before and hooks you in, and then you're just set to watch. So I loved that episode. 5 out of 5.
Fair
Weekend Pass is
enough.
still Weekend Pass
Yeah,
is still
I
available.
give myself a weekend pass. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Damn it, I can only revoke one pass at a time. Show me your bayonet. Is it rusty?
No,
It probably
fuck
is.
you. I already checked it.
Be it the fact it's 80 years old, it's probably got a little rust somewhere.
Your weekend passes revoke private bullshit.
Fight me.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. I think before I let you do your little spiel about your different social medias and the team's medias, something I wanted to share is fun fact for our folks at home. Camp Toccoa still a place. It's actually a museum now. They have original barracks there. They're restoring a C-47, and they have a annual run up Toccoa for the Normandy weekend. Uh, they're not sponsoring this show. I don't even know if they know about us or care about us, but I will plug them. They currently have a buy a brick campaign, which this show will be participating in. So we're going to, if you go to Toccoa at some point, you'll see an Armchair Commander's brick at their facility. But they're doing a buy a brick program, and it's for the area around their C-47 that they're restoring. Check out Camp Toccoa, buy a brick, help support the museum and the foundation out there.
Yep.
With that being said, Blake, if you want to share your socials and the team socials, have at it.
Absolutely, brother, and I completely agree about Camp Toccoa. You know, it's so wonderful to see an organization putting that place back together and giving it the honor it deserves. And actually, there's a new team on the scene, new parachuting team, who just did jump operations there with some of the Band of Brothers cast. And
Yeah, the all
airborne.
airborne.
Yeah, yeah. So from one team to another, if they're listening, yeah, great job, guys. Keep it up. You know, keep on working. It's great to see guys doing good things in the scene, and you've got airborne brothers out there. So from one team to another, keep it up. And it's just great to see people promulgating the history and the stories of these men. I know that there were 3 World War II veterans in attendance, so to Camp Toccoa and to them, that's awesome stuff to see. I live so close to Camp Toccoa and haven't been there yet, so I want to get out there soon enough to get to go see it and run up Currahee. But yeah, as far as it goes with us, man, as I always say, anybody, no matter who you are, if you are physically fit enough to parachute, you can come jump with us. Does not matter if you're civilian, prior military, you can come do the 10-day course, get 5 jumps out of a C-47, just like paratroopers did in World War II. Earn your jump wings. I got my jump wings pinned by a Korean War veteran, and it was the greatest honor of my life. I highly recommend it to anybody. Embrace that fear, err on that side of danger, and let's show the memory and respect of what these men did. So if you want to look up the team, it's website's www.wwiiadt.org. And on Facebook, we're under the World War II Airborne Demonstration Team. There's also an Instagram for the team, WWIIADT. And you can find all kinds of stuff on the team there. I'm on Instagram as well, under Knees to the Breeze, just how it sounds, all smashed together, Knees to the Breeze. And I post my different goings on at the hangar and adventures out there and parachuting, and try to give people a perspective of what it's like to be not only a student, but now into a team member. And now I'm at 15 jumps, and will continue to post and share with people the experience of it. So I'm actually going back out here April 18th. I'll be heading back out there for over a week. So I'll be posting a bunch and sharing a bunch for everyone to see. So if anyone's out there want to come jump, want to come live the history of World War II, come join us. World War II Airborne Demonstration Team. We'd love to have you.
That is great.
Yeah, I really need
That's
to jump
Jack.
through time.
Jack, you can be the ambassador. I gotta
Yeah.
lose I gotta lose a few pounds first.
All
You
Especially
can
good.
after
do it, man.
after my staircase escapade, I was like, God, I'm too heavy.
Trust me, I've been in the same boat. I've been working on it for a while, man, for the same goal.
What was the maximum weight requirement?
You need to be 240 bare weight because with boots, with your uniform and your helmet, you need to weigh no heavier than 250. And I have pushed that limit previously, and weight has fluctuated. Everybody goes through it, when you're trying to lose weight. And finally, this time around, I can say I've gotten the weight regulated. And I can attest to this, that every pound you lose is going to be that much lighter of a landing and that much easier of a time of you getting back up and jumping again. Physical fitness as far as just overall health. Like when I went through as a student, I was heavier than I am now, and it beat me up. I felt it for a month after the fact. When I came back a year later, so I went through in October of 2022, came back in April, and then came back again October of 23, just as previous October. Man, October just recently, every landing smooth as butter. Didn't even feel it. My body hurt more from walking around on the concrete than it did from landing. So every pound you lose just makes it that much more comfortable.
Must have been a bitch for Sergeant Randleman.
Oh yeah, big old bull. Hey, that's about my body type. Just corn fed.
Jack, do you have anything else?
Let me just say it is a pleasure to have you back, Blake.
I appreciate that, Jack. It's
You're
always an
an
honor.
you're an outstanding guest.
I
And
really appreciate that.
this time I'll remember to ship you your lucky strikes as a thank
Oh
you.
man,
Because like I said, if you want anything out of date or old, then South Dakota is a good chance to find it.
sounds perfect, brother. Guys,
It's
listen. Go ahead.
I'll never forget a couple Christmases ago, my brother bought me something off a military surplus store. And this was in the middle of those, shipping route things and the shipping tankers, that whole drama. And
Right.
he was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna get you your gift before Christmas. I gotta check where this place is stationed, and I'll get back to you on that." And then he gets back to me. It's like, "So the fucking website is based out of Rapid City, in our own
Ah,
state."
ah,
uh,
man. If you ever come across anything airborne, you think of your old buddy Blake. I'll
I
send some
will.
money up your way.
And if you
Uh,
ever come across anything Blanton's, think
I,
of John.
I got you, brother. I got you. All day long, I got you. Why, guys, the honor's truly mine. Every time y'all have me on, I have a great time. I just got done at the USS Alabama here in my hometown. I'm an avid part of the living history crew there, and a great group of guys. And I just got done singing your praises to everyone at the
Aw.
ship, and handing out the remaining stickers that I had. So yeah, it's always an honor when I get to come on with you guys. We have a good time.
See, the real honor would be if you said, "Hey, I tagged a battleship with your sticker."
And I would, if she weren't so sacred, I would. There needs to be somewhere
Okay.
on that ship. There needs to be somewhere on that ship where somebody could put something like that. I mean, there isn't, but there needs to be.
Yeah, there should
Like
be a
that.
sticker wall.
Yeah, there should be. There isn't, but there should be.
Anywho, thank you again for joining us. Um, Folks at home, this is obviously the first part of our review of Band of Brothers, so keep your eyes out for part 2, which is going to be Day of Days. We will release that. If everything goes according to plan, we will release that on June 6th. And our anticipated guest, we're still working a few things out, but our anticipated guest is the guys from the We're Not Lost Private podcast. So really looking forward to having those guys on. If you'd like additional content from us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Discord, all those good places under the Armchair Commanders. Please leave a review. The stars do matter. Until next time, I've been John.
And I'm Jack.
And I'm Blake.
All right, I'm Blake.
Time to get those knees to the breeze.
I was going to screw with you and say I'm Blake. Just to throw the old curveball at you.
You want to go to war, Blocky?
I'm Blake now.
Yeah, my name is Blake.
Jack, I think you need to end on a instead of bye, end on a Kurahi.
Airborne.
Curry!
Bye.
Hi ho, Silver!
Hi ho, Silver!